and it's very easy to see how well the media is being controlled when you do have the Americans basically funding terrorists in Iran for a regime change. But with all this, like what you mentioned before, this blow Israel off the map hoax,
right,
somehow all over the place. It's really about the American people.
It's really about Israel right now, though. They know that Iran basically came out and said they know, they're occupying Palestine right now, and that they should stop. Since 1948, they're the longest military occupation pretty much in the world that I know of. Don't quote me on that date, but they basically should stop occupying Palestine. But Iran doesn't have a bomb to wipe them off the map. As much as most people would love to see that happen, it's not going to happen. And I don't necessarily want Israel wiped off the map. I think that the whole quote was taken out of context. I think, like he said, the Zionist regime should stop occupying and vanish from the pages of history. It's totally different from wiping them off the map, in my opinion. That would mean
the whole Zionist, the whole term,
right?
Everything has been completely changed.
Exactly, because they control the media. I mean, if they didn't control the media, they should expose. If they want to expose Iran, then do it. But then also expose the the racially segregated colonies for Jews only, set up on Arab land. They don't belong on it. Period.
Why is the media so controlled to only push all this Israel love?
Well, I mean, if you look at who owns the media, Rupert Murdoch with MySpace, Fox News, I mean, Time Warner, AOL, they're all Zionist organizations, companies, huge. All the World Bank. I mean, look at Paul Wolfowitz. And they just hired somebody else in there. I don't know his name offhand.
Yeah.
The bottom line is people need to wake up. I mean, the majority of Americans don't realize how much control Israel has over America right now. And they have for, 50 years now. The foreign policy is extreme. I mean, look at Norman Finkelstein. I mean, he couldn't even get a tenure at DePaul because of what the Zionists did to him. They basically called him a self-hating Jew, and his own family survived the Holocaust.
That's what makes me really frustrated, to see how you look at people's mindset. They're just so out of sync with everything. That's probably what pisses me off the most.
I agree, but it's almost like they're ignorant because of what they watch on TV. Not every American is on the internet every night like we are, trying to educate ourselves, not blame the whole Arab community for a terrorist attack. Even if you believe, that 12 pissed-off Arabs with box cutters hijacked a plane and flew it into a building, you can't blame a whole group of people on that.
Right.
I just don't get it. I mean, I don't understand how people with this logic after, 5-6 years now, can basically still believe the original story. I mean, look at bin Laden. Him and the Bush family, the whole family, they were in bed together for years. He worked for the CIA until 1989.
Yeah.
And the whole Al-CIAda thing, I mean, the whole thing that struck me as strange with Al-CIAda is there was never a flag. They never had a government. They had, no democratically elected people in office or anything. Like, who is Al-CIAda? What is Al-CIAda? We've been told by the media that they have these, training camps underground in Iraq, and that, Saddam was with bin Laden and involved with 9/11. That's all a bunch of bullcrap, because when you look at groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, they have democratically elected people in office. They have a flag. They have, basically, to them, they have honor to fight, for their country. More Hezbollah than Hamas, in my opinion, but basically...
Right, there have been big-name people from the Middle East, elected people saying, asking what is Al-CIAda?
Exactly.
It seems like no one has even an idea over there what it is.
Yeah, if it's this big of an organization, then how come the 1.5 billion Muslims in the world don't even follow them, or they basically deny that Al-CIAda exists? They think it's just an excuse to occupy a foreign land for oil, which I'm pretty much convinced that too. You don't have to be a Middle Eastern to realize what they're doing out there.
Right.
But I think that's what the majority of Americans fail to realize, though, except maybe a minority of us, that we basically, the politicians in this country basically do whatever Israel wants. It's not really about what America wants. People actually, they might as well pack up and move to Tel Aviv because that's where they're basically their offices are from. They don't care about America. They don't care about the White House.
Well, for the listeners, tell us more about just some of the basic, pretty horrendous things that Israel has done that you would think would make the news, but they somehow don't.
Well, you don't have to even talk about the illegal occupation, which is a big part of it, but you could go back to 1967 when they bombed one of our own, the USS Embassy, was it? They bombed it and actually placed the blame on Egypt. And, I mean, if Israel attacked America, in a way, and if for that not to be reported, and now finally, 40 years later, to get uncovered like that, and still people don't talk about it, it's crazy. I mean, and look at, even Jimmy Carter tried to expose it a little bit in his book. It's a great book. I mean, come on. What more do you have to realize? I mean, you just look at the TV and you listen to these puppet heads talk on TV, and all their paychecks are written by the Zionists. Everybody knows that. They're not going to mention his. If you look at Obama's speech to AIPAC, I mean, come on. He basically grabbed his ankles for him.
Right.
Then why do people want him in office again? Oh, he's an anti-war Democrat. No, he's far from anti-war. He voted for the funding of the Iraq War. He voted for the funding and, execution of what happened in Lebanon. And now he would probably back war with Iran. Why all of a sudden would it be like, oh, no, don't bomb Iran? Well, he didn't care about Iraq or Lebanon. Why would he care about Iran?
Right. They rely on the American people's forgetfulness. It's incredible.
People forget until, like, Memorial Day and 9/11 and the 4th of July, and then they bring out their flags and, their barbecues, and they totally play country music and totally forget about, and they don't realize how ignorant they are and how blinded they are by what this country and Israel and its other allies are doing to the rest of the world.
Right, its foundations. People don't understand the history of it because of how the language itself has been perverted. Like being patriotic is somehow, like what you mentioned, doing all that, yet forgetting the other people that live on this planet that are dying
and suffering at the hands of the occupying forces like that. But no, as long as you have your little barbecue on 4th of July, then that's all that matters, right? It's patriotism, it's nationalism, and if you talk to anybody about that and you question it, they'll say, get out of my country then, you're a traitor. It's basically, if you don't speak out against your government right now, in a time where you really should, you're considered, anti-American. Just like when you speak out against Israel, you're anti-Semitic. It's basically whoever they fear, they label. And when they label like that, it's really not good, but the whole rest of the world realizes that they're labeling like that. They know what's going on. Like, if you talk to any European out there that has, some sense of reality of what's going on, they knew right away after Iraq got attacked. There's many people I've talked to online from, Italy, from Germany, from France. They're like, oh, it's only a matter of time before they target Iran. Iran's I think one of the only countries left in the Middle East that doesn't have, a central bank funded by the Zionists.
Ask me how it is that I dare to take a side. You say I loathe myself, pointing out you have lied. You say it's tribal warfare, but I disagree, for the dynamics of the situation are not difficult to see. On the one side is the fighter jet, on the other is the stone. On the one side is the slave, on the other is the throne. For the many there are checkpoints, while foreign soldiers rule the streets. For the one side there is victory, but the people don't accept defeat. The word you need to know is occupation, the very definition of a land without a nation. And if peace is what you're after, then let us not deceive. It'll come on the day the tanks return to Tel Aviv. On the one side there is hunger and bulldozed olive trees. On the other is the army, ruling by decrees. Caterpillars maul the streets, destroy whole city blocks, while children swallow shrapnel for the crime of throwing rocks. Fences are erected around the towns they flatten, and Herzl's own fanatics sleep on sheets of satin.